If you were looking for things to get shaken up in Destiny 2, well, guess what? Today is that day. We have a major update from the This Week at Bungie on July 1st. We have a giant Sandbox update. We have the Master Vault of Glass. We've got the Solstice of Heroes. So we're just going to jump right into it. First things first, the Solstice of Heroes is back, and again, we are going into the European aerial zone. It is not much different than it has been in the past. For those of you that don't know about the Solstice of Heroes, it takes place on the European aerial zone. You stop by and talk to Eva Levante, who's going to be your event vendor like she always is. You go up to the European aerial zone, you kill a bunch of enemies, you hunt for chests, and that is about it. The cool part about this Solstice is, again, we have some new Solstice armor pieces that look really super sexy, and you definitely want to get your hands on them, as well as the Compass Rose shotgun and an exotic ghost that is absolutely fantastic looking. As with every event in Destiny 2, there will be cool cosmetics that you can pick up from the Eververse store. Ghosts, ships, and all of those things should be running on your screen right now. But the truth is, today, we are not going to be talking about that too much because Solstice hasn't really changed too much in the last couple of years. It's a really cool event, but there are some bigger things that we have to get into today, including the mid-season Sandbox update. The Weapons Future Lead, Chris Proctor, dropped on into the TWAB to give a ton of information, including intended roles, as well as all the buffs and nerfs that are going to be coming inside of Destiny. He says, "Hey all, Chris here. I'd like first to set some expectations. Normally, we wouldn't make large changes in a mid-season patch, but with a handful of weapons sucking all the air out of the room, we decided to bring some changes originally planned for Season 15 into next week's update. We'll follow this up with a big set of changes in Season 15. Moving these changes up to Season of the Splicer also gives us the option of doing some reactive tuning in Season 15's mid-season patch. All in all, we'll continue to make changes outside of seasonal updates when we can, but they won't typically be this large or numerous. So it's really cool to see Bungie understanding that the PvP meta especially, and even some of the PvE meta, has really been defined by a couple of different weapons, and they want to shake things up a bit to make sure that things don't get stale. And I know that they just had a virtual summit with some notable PvP and PvE players. I'm hoping that they took their feedback and they're running with it. Especially in PvP, there have been a couple of items that have defined the meta in the last couple of months, like the 120 aggressive hand cannons, Dead Man's Tail, shotguns, and all of those things are getting touched today. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Some people's dads would say use the right tool for the right job, and weapons are exactly the same. Bungie has an ideal for every single weapon inside of Destiny in the situations where they're the dominant choice. If you're caught outside of that, you should be at a disadvantage, but a lot of the weapons that we've been seeing don't necessarily have disadvantages. They say moving towards these roles is a work in progress. Some weapons are not where we want them to be, and we've made some changes in Season of the Splicer that we expect to need more adjustments later on. Note that special ammo abundance in PvP distorts these roles, allowing play that wouldn't be possible otherwise, and it's something that they're looking to address. But here are the roles that they want each of the special weapons to fill. Sniper rifles should engage at long range with aiming skill when not already under fire. Shotguns should engage at point blank range, using skill at movement or positioning to get close enough to get a 1 or 2 hit elimination. Fusion rifles should engage at the mid-range, but with careful positioning and pre-charging around cover required for success. Trace rifles should be strong at close to mid-ranges at the cost of not being a 1-hit elimination, making it possible to be outplayed by skillful primary users. And finally, grenade launchers, useful for weakening an opponent, getting damage around corners with bounces, or getting a 1-hit elimination with a direct impact at the cost of projectile travel time and being in a bad place if you miss your shot with the single round magazine. So they talk about the fact that shotguns are very dominant in PvP. In fact, they are the best weapon that you can bring into PvP right now if you know how to use movement and positioning, and they don't allow much counterplay with primary weapons, particularly close-range primaries like sidearms and SMGs. They see frequent player feedback about their prevalence in PvP activities and how they make it difficult to use various weapon archetypes that otherwise feel good against players without shotguns. We want them to excel in a narrower niche than they do currently, so this change aims to retain the reliable one-hit elimination, but at a closer range, and push them to be slightly rangier than currently at getting 2-hit eliminations. As with our intent for all special weapons, if a player is caught outside of position with a shotgun, they should be at a clear disadvantage, which right now they aren't. A lot of times you can follow up with a melee or something like that, and the way that shotguns work, you can usually get a couple of pellets off and do really, really well. Moving on. With the ability to quickly follow up rising in importance, we expect faster firing shotguns to eat into aggressive shotguns' dominance and other special weapons to be more viable. They've increased aggressive frame shotguns' cone angle from 4.0 to 4.25 degrees. In other words, they've made the cone angle wider so you might miss more pellets. They've reduced shotgun damage falloff minimum by 2 meters, increased shotgun damage falloff maximum by 2 meters. Note that slug shotguns are unaffected by this change. So if you are someone that is enjoying using a chaperone or a duality shotgun in that slot, you certainly could continue to use that. However, it takes more skill in positioning and also aiming to make sure that you get the kill. Moving on, we've got aggressive 120 RPM hand cannons. They were already nerfed in Season of the Splicer, but they are still too strong. Chris goes on to say, we believe that they're still too rangy and benefit way too much from a small damage buff to tapping. It's tricky because they're not now much different from their pre-Beyond Light form. They already had better range and a 2-tap potential with Rampage. But people have latched onto their ease of 2 and 2 tapping potential since their buff in Beyond Light, and new 120s in Season of the Chosen encourage people to try them out. With this change, we expect other primaries to become viable where previously 120s ate their lunch, including adaptive hand cannons, pulse rifles, scout rifles, and auto rifles, while allowing 120s to keep the advantage of a hard-hitting peak shooting at range. So, they've reduced precision damage multiplier from 1.8 to 1.6, preventing a 10% damage bonus from allowing 2 tapping in PvP. They've reduced the aim assist minimum fall-off distance by 1 to 2 meters depending on the range stat. They've also reduced the damage minimum fall-off distance by 1 meter. This reduces their damage fall-off advantage over other hand cannons to 1 meter. As usual, this is 1 meter before the zoom scaler. So what does that all mean? It basically means that with every single bullet that you shoot with a 120 hand cannon, the aim assist is much lower than it has been in the past. While it's not nerfed into the ground, it definitely is not as strong as it was, and now you can't be 2-tapped if someone has Rampage on their Igneous Hammer. I'm really excited to try out some different pulse rifles and maybe even a palindrome or 2 to check out how they do in PvP when this update goes live. So that is something to look forward to if you want to mix things up and are sick of the hand cannon meta. There's a ton of other changes coming as well to perks. Drop mag can no longer roll on new drops of weapons, and they're going to have their functionality changed later. There's a change coming next season that requires adjusting this in some perks with similar functionality. They're going to be talking about that a little bit later. Pulse monitor, they're going to fix an issue where the handling bonus was no longer applying. Rewind rounds, which are something that you can get from the Vault of Glass weapons, they fixed an issue where the perk would not trigger if the last shot in a magazine was missed or if a player reloaded another weapon before firing the final shot. And also reservoir burst for fusion rifles. We've seen the complaints that the detonation on kills doesn't feel that reliable or impactful, so this has been updated with consistency and speed fix as Dragonfly. Of course, 120 hand cannons weren't the only primary weapon that were dominating the Crucible. The Dead Man's Tail scout rifle is extremely potent on mouse and keyboards. For some reason, it is not so strong on controller, so they want to adjust things on mouse and keyboard to make it so that it is still viable on controller, still viable in PvP in using mouse and keyboard, but not the dominant choice, especially in mid to long range fights. They say, we're keeping the fast firing in hip, which we believe is key to the feel of the weapon. But with this change, it will no longer have ADS levels of damage fall off while hip firing, and so will be subject to fall off much closer. It will also require better aim to land hits while hip firing. We're deliberately only lightly touching ease of use in this change with the goal of not making it harder to use on controller. They've removed hipfire damage fall-off scaler, which was 1.8 to match zoom, and the aim assist cone angle hip scaler reduced from 1.5 to 1.2. What does that mean for you? Well, it means that the damage fall off for the weapon is going to be significantly higher. I can't tell you how many times I've seen or been the victim to getting shot around corners from miles away at sniper range with the dead man's tail. At this point, you are going to have to consider the range of the scout rifles, and also you're going to have to aim more carefully because they pulled the aim assist in significantly. Point 3 is not a small item when you're talking about aim assist, especially if it's just 1.5 to 1.2. So for those of you who have been crutching on dead man's tail, it's possible you might need to find another weapon. In PvE, this Sleeper Simulant did not receive any custom tuning when we updated the linear fusion rifles at the beginning of Season of the Splicer, but because it has a much higher body damage than other linear fusions, it didn't benefit as much as intended from the global buff to precision damage scaler. So, Sleeper will now be the clear winner for single-shot linear fusion rifle damage, edging out other linear fusion rifles for burst damage and largely match others for total damage from reserves. Also note that Sleeper's penalty for hitting the body rather than the head is much lower, giving it an edge in real-world damage. So in other words, they've fixed an issue where Sleeper Simulant was benefiting less from that in the Season of the Splicer linear fusion precision damage buff. The total buff now is 16.5 compared to the 15% buff other linear fusion rifles received. Does that mean it's going to be the king of damage in PvE? I'm not sure. There's just too many weapons that are too strong right now that really edge it out, and easier choices that you can use. However, they are mentioning that there are some nerfs and buffs coming on in the future, especially to one weapon that has been a darling of the PvE community, the Anarchy grenade launcher from Scourge of the Past. As they talk about the near future, they have more changes coming in Season 15. Fusion rifles. We've been wanting to tackle subfamily differentiation for a while, so we're planning a large rework of fusion rifles, changes to fusion rifle perks and mods, and custom tuning to most exotic fusion rifles. For example, right now, the Vex Mythic class, which is the rarest drop that you can get in the Vault of Glass, is not really a strong weapon right now, and they are going to adjust it. Breach grenade launchers. With the above shotgun changes, we expect other special weapons to increase in usage, and we believe that grenade launchers have the potential to become more frustrating to play against as they have become even more common. So they are planning a small change that specifically touches priming and cleaning up targets. Scout rifles and hand cannons in PvE. Players have wanted these weapons to be more efficient in PvE for some time. I know that for me, especially in the latest Nightfall, there's nothing more annoying than just plinking away at a boss or a champion with a scout rifle. It's not very strong. So they're going to be looking at that in Season 15. Machine guns in PvE, through playtesting and player feedback, we found that they're not doing their intended job well enough, so they're going to see a noticeable change for Season 15. Special ammo economy, particularly in PvP. While the above changes to shotguns should help tone down aggressive frames a bit, we've got a small couple of changes planned that should reduce the amount of special ammo floating around to agree, and they have further changes in mind in case they're needed. Every PvP sweat knows to put on a Scavenger mod for whatever special weapon you're using so that you can get a ton of ammo as you're killing other enemies and picking it up. All right, boys, here's the big one. Anarchy has done too much too well for too many years. It has been the best choice, especially for endgame PvE, and that's even without counting the boost it's gotten this season with the sweet grenade launcher artifact mods like Breach and Clear. So they're going to be making changes that make it great at a couple of roles rather than being the jack of all grenade launchers. Finally, they say with exotic primaries, we want to give players more reasons to use an exotic primary in high-end PvE content, and they have changes coming to help with this. I don't know about you folks, but I'm feeling that things are going to be shaken up quite a bit in Season 15, and with the update that is coming here in July 6th. They're also going to be looking at buffing underused exotics, as well as looking at things in the wild as we see the nerf to shotguns and the buff to other weapons in the archetype when this patch rolls out. This looks to be the biggest change in weapons since Forsaken came out, in my opinion. I think you're definitely going to need to go into the vault and check out some of the different weapons that maybe you've been hoarding and saving for a special moment. There's still going to be shotguns that are very good, but definitely we are not going to be able to use the meta that we have been using in the past. Moving on, we've got the Vault of Glass Master difficulty is coming on July 6th. They say for the Master difficulty Vault of Glass, this won't be a walk in the park if you haven't dipped your toes into the Destiny 2 endgame before. Enemies are going to be tougher. They're going to be looking to put you down with more aggression. A few more champions will be appearing to defend the vault. More modifiers will be active, forcing you to think on your feet and come prepared. If you're looking to increase your power, make sure to complete your weekly milestones for pinnacle rewards. I definitely am looking forward to this. One of my favorite things to do in Destiny 1 was the hard mode version of the raids, and we haven't had anything like this since year 1 of Destiny 2 with the Spire of Stars, Eater of Worlds, and Leviathan prestige modes. This is also exciting because now we are going to see the arrival of the TimeLost Weapons to Destiny 2. They're comparable to the Adept weaponry from Grandmaster Nightfalls or Flawless Trials passages, but there's an additional perk in columns 3 and 4 for slightly more customization. I'm really excited for this because now you can actually hunt for the TimeLost weapons, have a little bit more customizability with these weapons, and maybe have a couple special weapons that you can hold close to your heart. In addition, there is also a ship that you can earn from the Vault of Glass Master difficulty. The armor from the Master difficulty of Vault of Glass is also going to focus on specific stats rotating weekly. So if you've been hunting a helmet with a high spike in intellect or recovery, the Master difficulty will give you greater chances for the distribution you were looking for. All right, there are 2 major notes with this. If you complete the Vault of Glass challenges in the Master difficulty, you're going to be rewarded. Each week will feature a specific time-lost weapon for you to hunt, rotating along the available challenge. Once you've earned the time-lost weapons, you can purchase additional rolls from the chest at the end of the raid on the Master difficulty using spoils, but they are going to be at a higher cost than the normal version of the weapons. In addition, and this is the most important part, weekly reward lockouts are shared between both normal and Master difficulties of the Vault of Glass. That means encounters, challenges, and hidden chests will only award gear the first time you complete them in either activity each week. They must be completed at Master difficulty first to earn time-lost weapons and stat-focused armor. In other words, unlike Destiny 1 where you get 2 chests and that's just your hard mode and your normal mode version of the rewards, you have to do it on the Master difficulty first to get the rewards that you were looking for that week. I don't know about you folks, but I am really excited to jump into Destiny on July 6th. There is a ton of things to sink our teeth into, and I cannot wait. I'm particularly excited for the Vault of Glass on the Master difficulty, and if you need help completing that raid, come on over to twitch.tv/manodestra. Every stream we help people out with doing Grand Masters, raids, exotic helps, and more. If you did like something in this video, a positive rating is greatly appreciated. Leave a comment down below for the algorithm and also let me know what you think of all the changes. Is this going to change how you maybe play PvP? Are you going to actually try jumping into Trials of Osiris? Are you going to jump into some new activities and try out some different weapons? Let me know down below. If you did find something helpful about this video, consider subscribing to the channel. I cover Destiny 2 news all the time, and turn on the bell so you're notified whenever I make another video. Good hunting, Guardians. I will see you next time in the universe of Destiny.